Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I'm talking about watches. Today is the full metal modification of my Casio G-Shock DW5600 series. When I started looking for a new G-Shock, I looked through their range and I was immediately attracted to the full metal G-Shock. However, at the recommended retail price of $1,000 Australian, there was no way that I was going to buy that. I'm not going to say that it's not worth that, I'm just going to say that it's not worth that for me. For a G-Shock, for me, is an everyday beater watch, something that I can take to work, and I don't mind if it gets scratched up or bumped. And spending $1,000 on a watch to do that is just not me. So then after doing a little bit more research, I found that you can modify a standard DW5600 and make it look and feel like a full metal G-Shock. I bought the G-Shock through eBay Australia and I found the kit on special at Aliexpress. So there's 4 things I'll be doing through this video. Firstly, I'm going to be doing a little mini review of the kit itself. Then I'm going to be doing the modification of the watch. Then I'm going to be doing my first impressions review of the watch once I've modified it. Then I'm going to go away for a week or so. I'm going to put it on my wrist, I'm going to wear it, and then I'm going to come back and do another review of how I feel of the watch after wearing it. So let's jump into it. Review of the modification kit, the modification itself, and then a first impression. The kit arrived in this timber melamine type box, which is put together okay. However, you can probably see on this one that it fell apart somewhat in the post, but it didn't destroy or cause any damage to the modification kit itself. Under this piece of foam here, we have the kit. We have a set of quick release spring bars with a spare set, as well as some screws. Came with some screwdrivers, which I'm going to use for the modification today. Normally I'd probably use ones that I have myself, which are probably better, but I want to show you that I can do it with what came with the kit. There is some other little tools. And then there's the watch head and the bracelet itself. The watch head itself feels well made. We have protection G-Shock etched into the steel. It is well done, it's very crisp, very clear. You can feel it when you put your fingers over it. The whole thing is polished, except for this top surface, which is brushed in a vertical pattern downwards. The specifications of the case itself is that it is 22 grams. It is 49 millimeters top to bottom. It is 44 millimeters across. It is 10 millimeters wide, and the material itself is 2.5 millimeters thick. The bracelet itself feels very solid. When you first pick it up, it is certainly a solid steel construction, but there is a fair bit of movement, and you'll also see there's a fair few gaps in between those individual links, so you can actually see my hand through it. And as you can see, there is a lot of movement side to side. It does feel very solid and good quality, and it certainly contours to your wrist, well in this case to my finger. The clasp itself is brushed with 2 lines and an etched G-Shock logo, which is done very nicely. It has twin pushers and it is of milled construction. It has stainless steel written there, and it has 4 micro adjusts. The bracelet, without any links taken out, is 96 grams. It has 25.5 millimeter lug width. It tapers down to 18 millimeters and then back up to 20 millimeters at the clasp. It is 3.5 mils thick. I'm guessing it's a pin and collar system. There's no arrows here and there's no screws, and it doesn't say which ones you can or can't take out, so I'm assuming there's a fair amount of adjustment throughout the entire bracelet. And I'm guessing there's a fair amount of spare links available, because me, on my 6 3/4 inch wrist, it overlaps without the watch itself, so I'm going to have to take out quite a few. It doesn't come with any instructions, however I get the feeling that it's fairly easy. There's 4 screws that need to be taken out, and then I'm hoping the band will just pop off, and then with a little bit of effort the case cover will come off, and then we start putting that one back on, and then we put that on, and then we should be done. But let's see if it's that easy. I'll do a little bit of fast forwarding if I need to, just in case this video starts to get a little bit long. I am doing this under the camera, so it may take me a little bit longer than I expect, but let's see how it goes. So first of all, I'm going to take out these screws. Well, that's 2 out. That was very easy. Let's take these 2 out. Okay, so I've taken those 4 screws out. Let's see what we do next. There's some spring bars in there, so we need to take those spring bars out. That's why we've got a spring bar tool, I'm guessing. So there's a watch head without the integrated bracelet. This should now just peel off over the top of those 4 pushes, just like that. And there it is without the protection on it. Now it's my understanding that we just put this on top, just like that. And I'm guessing we put the screws back in first, and then we'll put the bracelet on. So let's give that a go. So there's the watch head with the stainless steel cover on it now. Just going to do a little bit more tightening on the screws. Voila. And now it's just a matter of putting the bracelet on. So there we have the completed product. I haven't sized it as yet, but it certainly feels nice in the hand. It's got a nice bit of weight to it. There's obviously a lot of spare links available to me, but I think that's going to look quite nice. However, I can already feel that that sticks a lot over my wrist. Yes, I think it will be okay, but my wrist might be a little bit small for this, being 6 3/4 inch. It's a bit of a shame because this first link here that's on the bracelet is sort of solid, and it doesn't allow for much bending at all, as you can see there. But let's take those links out and see what we can make it look like once it's fitted properly. Now I'm guessing this is going to be a pill and collar type system. Oh no, it's spring bars. Look at that, mini spring bars. All of them are. There you go. Mini spring bars. I haven't come across that before. That's a bit different. It is gonna make the process a lot easier, I'm hoping. I'm taking 3 out on either side. Let's see how that fits me now. Oop, that's about right. I think that fits me quite nicely. So just a quick overview of the watch now that is done on my 6 3/4 inch wrist. Certainly those 2 integrated sections to the bracelet stick out a lot. Way too much for what I would have preferred. It does stick over the top of my wrist here and on the other side here. But it's okay. It does feel solid, it does taper a lot, clasp works nicely, clicks back in with a lovely click. There's plenty of micro adjust if I want to play with it a little bit more later, and it looks quite nice, doesn't it? Alright, back to me. So I've now had the full metal modified G-Shock on my wrist for over a week now, and I want to go through with you how I feel about it, what I like about it, what I'm a little bit uncomfortable with, and I'm going to do that by flipping the camera around again and giving you that review. So, the second time on this one video, let's have a look. It's been about a week now since I modified this watch, and I've had it on wrist almost every day. So now I wanted to give you a little bit more of a review after I've got a bit of an understanding, after a little bit of experience with it. And I want to talk to you about the good and the bad of the watch, and the couple of issues that I've identified which may cause some issues for certain people depending on your wrist size. The first thing that I like about this modification kit is the quality of the materials. It is very well produced, it's very well made, and the quality of that steel feels solid and it feels reliable. The second thing I like about it is actually how it surrounds these buttons here. I prefer the use and feel of the buttons whilst in this metal case than on the original resin bracelet. Probably the third thing I like is actually the feel of the bracelet itself. It does feel solid, it feels well made, it looks quite nice, it looks good, it tapers down to a nice comfortable fit, and it fits and feels very nice on wrist. One of my favourite parts of it is actually the clasp. It is very well designed and made, it looks nice and it feels nice, it has that nice brushing across the top with those nice two lines. The G-Shock symbol on there is well done, it's pressed in. The two buttons feel very good, it feels very secure, and I'm happy that it won't fall off my wrist during the day. And the mill clasp part of it as well is actually done quite well. It feels very nice. So there's only a couple of things I don't like about it, and realistically one of them is probably something that everybody may have an issue with, the other is more for me and my wrist size. Firstly, the bracelet itself. You can see there is a lot of movement there, and you can probably see there's a lot of gaps there. And when you are wearing it, you can see your wrist through those gaps, which is not such a bad thing, it's just a little bit annoying for me. I'd prefer it if it was a little bit more solid without those gaps in the middle there. But the main issue for me is this relative lug to lug size. You'll see on the bracelet itself, this lug here is almost solid and it can't be moved and can't drop away. Now from my understanding, this is copying what the actual Full Metal G-Shock has as well, so it's just using that same style as the original one. So it's not really a problem with the modification kit, it's the style that was made originally that they've been then copied. So the problem that has for me, if we then look at the relative lug to lug size, is almost 65 millimeters, which is huge. Well, it's huge for me anyway. I have a 6 3/4 inch wrist, and for me that makes it too big. It means it sits over the top of my wrist and it hangs out to here. And let me show you what I mean by that. So I'm not sure if that shows you properly what I mean by that, but if I push it correctly onto this side of my wrist, you'll see how much further out it sits on the other side. I'll try on the other side. Now that on the bottom now is fitting perfectly, but on the top it now sticks out almost a full finger thickness. And again, if I push on here so it fits and conforms nicely to the bottom part of my wrist, you can see there on the underside it sticks up a lot and sticks out. Now I've tried to compensate somewhat for this by having it a little bit looser and letting it sit further down on my arm, which I actually don't mind in this style of watches with the metal bracelets sitting further forward, and it almost makes it work. However, I do tend to move my watch back and forth during the day, and as soon as it moves back, that just stands out to me and I think it looks terrible. Now, again, that's not the problem with the modification kit, and certainly not the watch. That's more my 6 3/4 inch wrist, which is why I wouldn't recommend this watch modification kit for anybody with a wrist size less than 7 1/4 or maybe even 7 1/2 inch. But if you have that 7 1/2 inch wrist or even 8 inch wrist, I think this will look great on you. There is a good positive out of having that effective lug to lug size being so large, but unfortunately it doesn't work for me. It's a really good positive for people with slightly larger wrists who will want to wear this, knowing that it is effectively a slightly smaller G-Shock compared to a lot. It gives it that much larger wrist presence. So it sits on there and gives you a nice solid feel on your wrist. Alright, let's flick back to me again. So there we have it. Unfortunately, it just doesn't fit my wrist. It's disappointing because I would have liked to have kept it as is and kept it in my collection long term. Because it doesn't, I'll probably end up putting it back on the resin strap and I'll wear it that way. I really hope you've enjoyed this video and that it has given you some good information. If you do have a wrist size of 7 inches or below, I really wouldn't recommend it. I think you'll be wasting your money. However, if you're lucky enough to have a bigger wrist, this is going to fit well and I think you're going to enjoy it. Alright, that's me done for the day. I'll talk to you again in another video.